Yo, Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Can you see these two buggers behind me?
Why? Why is those? Hello, guys.
So we have 3 hosts for today.
Okay. MashaAllah.
No, they'll be outside while we're hosting, but they'll come in later after they finish makan.
They go your house, what? Lepak?
Yeah. While working, they just sleeps. Okay, anyways, let me just pull out my... Okay, I'm the co-host.
Yeah.
Is the thing's already recording, but let me just pull out my script now, okay? Then I will start with the hosting.
Yeah, then you give me the thing.
Yeah.
So later Slido, I read out the questions. I won't like show it because most of the time say
Okay.
Wait, do you want me? Wait, okay.
You can just add me maybe 7:35 lah.
Can I? I'm in one person already.
Okay, put him back into waiting room.
Okay, I put him back already.
Okay. So later for Slido, right? I might be able to conduct Slido also. So can you send me the Slido management link?
Sure. Wait.
Okay.
Wait.
You got the slides on Canva, right?
Yes, I already downloaded PDF. I will put full screen later.
Okay.
Wait, I need to answer one sister first.
Okay, no worries.
I'm joining the...
Okay. So later for the slides, right? I put one slide for... Okay, before photo taking, I put something. Let me go and double check. Before photo taking, I put survey. I put survey. So I pause a while, let them do the survey. Then I'll go to photo taking. Okay?
Okay. So do the survey first, then photo. Okay.
Yep. But I'll say if there's no time, then no worries. We will send the link outside after that also in the group lah.
You made me co-host already, right?
Yep. Okay, I think you can start adding everyone in already. I'm ready.
Yes, hold on.
Okay, are you gonna put a virtual background?
Later lah.
Should I?
Yeah.
I think my background okay, right? Okay,
Sorry?
I think my background is okay. I think my background is okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay. Let's see what's going on. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see. Okay, you can share some music. Okay, never mind, I'll just add them in lah. What time am I supposed to start? 7:35, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome, brothers and sisters. We'll just give 1 or 2 minutes to all the other participants who are streaming in as of the moment. And I will start in a few minutes. Inshallah, feel free to get some refreshments while we're waiting for the event to start. Or if you guys have not caught your Maghrib yet, feel free to go and pray first. And then inshallah, join us back later on when we start. All right, okay. So before I also begin our agenda for tonight, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time off your Friday evening to join us in this event. This is actually the first stop in our summer program. So I really thank you guys. We really thank you guys for signing up and participating in this first stop of our summer program. So a little bit about this event before I go into the agenda. So Let's Talk Finance is an event where we discuss personal finance for tertiary students from the perspective of both professional practitioners and from the perspective of our student body as well. So before we begin, I'd like to invite everybody to join me in the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha to gain the blessings of Allah for event today. Thank you.
Tak dengar pun suara dia.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. So the agenda for the night is as shown. We will have a short sharing by our speakers about some topics under personal finance and investing before moving on to share some insights about the finance industry, financial advisory industry, and ending off with a Q&A with the Slido link as shown in the next slide. So do head down to the Slido website, sli.do, and put in the code LTF21 to access the portal where you can ask questions to our guest speakers at any time of the event. So our team member will also send the Slido link in the chat box for all of you guys to access. So next slide. Now some background information before I introduce our speakers for the night. So SMU Islamic Business and Finance Society, IBFS, is a student-initiated wing constituted under SMU MS with a vision to cultivate and promote the growing interest in the fields of Islamic business, law, economics, and other faculties of studies among the student population in SMU and other tertiary institutions within Singapore. So it also aims to serve as a platform for students with an inquiring mind and common interest in the field of Islam and business studies to get together to explore the vast potential and possibilities in this area and subsequently form an appreciation and understanding of Islamic traditions pertaining to business and finance. So now, the reason why we've decided to organize an event on the next slide here, addressing these topics today, is because of the rising trend of investing, personal finance and financial advisory as a career in our Muslim youth community. So these topics have spurred much interest in the sectors pertaining to the differences in approach between non-Muslims and Muslims towards the practice of investing and personal finance. So at the same time, with these many questions and doubts that are arising, it causes many of us to either hold back on our interests or stopping ourselves from taking the first steps into these sectors. So tonight with us, we also have MFA Group. So MFA Group is a financial services company that aims to raise the financial status of our local Muslim community. They hope it will translate to a higher capacity to give back, making us dependable for our fellow Muslims and non-Muslims in need. So MFAG also specializes in offering diverse financial solutions, including investments, wealth preservation, wealth legacy planning, savings for retirement, cash planning, among others. They are also dedicated to empowering individuals in making smart financial decisions before they land their first full-time pay. For those who are past that, the best time is now. So a little bit of an introduction of the speakers we have from MFAG today. They'll be sharing some professional perspectives with regards to the topics we're discussing. So Diana and Aini were both from the social service sector before they joined the financial services industry. Their lived realities have greatly influenced their career, and they pray that it continues, grounding their purpose as financial service consultants. In their first and sixth year of career, respectively, they are recognized as the top 10% advisors in the world, also known as the $1 Million Round Table. They recognize that it comes with a huge responsibility towards the Muslim community and that the work is not done. So next slide, we also have a student-initiated community called the TheLepakFinance, which I'm so happy to be a part of as well. So TheLepakFinance started in June 2020 as a passion project. They talk about personal finance topics such as investing and ways to improve management. So they also founded a Telegram group called Ashik Duitja with over 750 members, hoping to build knowledge about financial literacy among our student body. So the two speakers that we have from the TheLepakFinance are actually the co-founders, Muhammad Danial, who is an SMU undergrad in economics with a second major in finance in wealth management specifically. He has 4 years of investing experience and mentored friends to start their investment journeys. On the other hand, we have Zalifa Zaini, who is a final year SP student pursuing in experience and communication design. She is passionate about personal finance, especially student-focused money management. So from them, we hope to get the practical aspect of practicing personal finance and investing. So on the next slide, Without further ado, I will first invite our first group of speakers, Diana and Aini from MFAG, to talk about personal finance.
Thank you. So I am Diana from MFA Group, and together with me is Aini. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and introduction. I'm not sure whether you guys have heard of us, maybe through social media, because like Siddiq mentioned, recently there's been a lot of hype, or I would say trend on investing, and it's all over social media. So I will just share some slides with you guys. Of course, I think this is not the only webinar that IBFS has for your students, right? Because I have like a series of it. So we won't be talking about the whole financial planning, no structure. We're just going to be focusing on just one, and hopefully this will spark your interest to look more into it in other webinars that they're going to have, inshallah. Okay, so yeah, just let me share your screen. Okay, bismillah. Okay, so any point of time, if you guys cannot see my screen, because I do have some internet connections, so just let me know, okay? And don't let me just move on. Okay, great. Okay, so I'll just start with the overall view of financial planning. So you guys see this as a pyramid, right? But don't worry, insurance or financial planning is not a pyramid scheme. It's not MLM. And we're not trying to sell any products over here. What we're trying to introduce to you is actually the structure that you guys can follow or adopt in looking at where you guys are in terms of financial planning. So it's actually in stages. So of course, we're starting at the base, right, as pyramids go. And then there's the protect layer, and then there's accumulation and preservation layer. So of course, there are more than one ways to do financial planning. This is just an introduction, and once you guys are familiar with it, then you guys can actually research more on how to do your financial planning. Okay, so this is just a very, very brief introduction, and I hope this will actually get you guys to see where you guys are at in terms of financial planning. So like I mentioned, we won't be talking about everything in terms of financial planning. We'll just be zooming on one thing, and that is the protect layer. Okay. So before I go into that layer specifically, I think I just want to tap on this overall view of why planning is important. So we know that planning is not just related or specific to finances. In our lives we plan, and the quote, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So over here, I think we are quite familiar with this verse in Surah Yusuf, verse 46 or 47. It basically teaches us that the nation during Prophet Yusuf's time was protected from the destruction of the 7 years of drought because they actually planned ahead for it. So this was according to Prophet Yusuf's advice for the king to plan ahead, to save some resources so that they can actually prepare for the drought that's coming. Yeah. So similarly for financial planning, we're not trying to predict your fate, or to tell you that you guys gonna get sick. No, we're trying to say that when or if that happens, you know that you won't be a liability to anyone, and your family won't be left in debt. Okay, so that's all that we're trying to see. So so the income, the protection layer, right, is actually quite expensive. However, I'll just touch on the basic ones that you guys can look into to actually secure your foundations lah. So Aini and I today will be sharing with you the basic or the foundations, and then elaborating a bit more on what are the other protection layers that you guys can actually look into lah. Okay, so these are the 5 things that you guys can actually take down, and if you guys do not have it, maybe that's something that you guys can look into after this session lah. Okay, so like I mentioned inside this slide, is actually what you guys are protecting is actually the income loss and the added expenses lah. Okay, so hospital plan or hospital coverage, I think that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. So whenever I ask people whether they have insurance, they say yes, they have. Then I ask them, what do they have for hospital? And they thought that actually is the only form of insurance out there. The answer is no, actually. There are a lot of insurance out there. This is just the basics. Okay, so hospital coverage basically helps you to cover your hospital bills. And then we move anti-clockwise to the accident part. So accident part is actually an outpatient treatment coverage for anything that's related to accident. So accident does not only mean road traffic, but also poisoning, dengue is also an accident lah. Okay, and then we go down to the disability. So disability, death, and critical illness, I would categorize them under the income loss protection. So na'uzubillah, in case of any of these things were to happen, it's basically going to give you an income that you're going to lose because you are unable to work anymore because of critical illness, or disability, or even the loss of your life lah. Okay, so to contextualize this, right, in our lives, because these are just like big terms, and this might be the first time that you're hearing about all these coverages. So I'm going to share with you a case study. So this case study is a true story, and how this family actually benefited or saw the shortfall in their insurance coverage lah, and how it actually impacted the whole family because of this shortfall. Okay. So yeah, so it's a true story that happened in 2007. Okay. So this is a story of 5 people, family of 5. Ahmad is the dad, Filza is the mom, and then there's 3 children, Umara, Dani, and Dian. Okay. Okay. So in 2007, actually, a healthy Filza was found motionless on the kitchen floor. And why I actually highlighted the word healthy, because a lot of people they assume that they're gonna be healthy now and forever, right? So and that's not always the case. And oftentimes, the moment that we realize that we need insurance, that's when it's too late lah. Okay. So what happened was that the neurologist found a blood clot in her brains, and the family was informed that she only had 15% or 50% chance of survival. But thankfully, alhamdulillah, she actually survived. And but because of the blood clot, she became a stroke patient. And then after some treatment, she recovered a year later. But before the family could rejoice in it, she was diagnosed with a cervical cancer stage 2 a few months later. Okay, and of course, that actually needed some surgeries and treatments to be done. So she had a cervix removed and 6 months of chemo and radiotherapy. And those who know any cancer patients or have seen movies or read books, you guys will know that cancer treatments is actually no joke. It takes a toll on the patient, not just on the patient, but also the family. So this caused Filza to fall into depression. Yeah. And while she recovered from cancer, unfortunately, it didn't end there for her lah. She actually got diagnosed with elephantiasis, which is a common side effect for cancer treatments, especially in women cancers. Yeah, so that was in 2007, right? So 14 years on, she is still struggling from it, despite numerous treatments and surgeries done. I know that for many of us, we know Singapore is a very advanced in terms of like healthcare, but in terms of elephantiasis, they are actually still working on the treatments lah. Hence why she is still struggling with it lah until now. Okay. And then let us like trace our steps back, right? So 14 years on, that will be like now 2021. But 7 years before, in 2014, Ahmad was suddenly diagnosed with a brain infection which had permanently damaged his brains. Yeah, so this caused him to forget almost everything and everyone around him. And this was when he was still healthy as well, and he suddenly got brain infection. So he currently lives as a dementia patient who needs help with activities of daily living. Almost everything lah, like showering, eating, almost everything that you will do every day. Okay. Yeah. So now that's about Ahmad and Filza, right? So now the question is, what happened to the kids? So Umaira, the 17-year-old child, the eldest, she actually had to quit her tertiary education to care for her parents, because for her mom actually. So her mother needed full-time care. However, the family couldn't afford professional help in terms of a helper, right? To care for her mother, and when she had stroke, so she chose family over school at that point. She did pick up her studies afterwards lah, but at that point she quit her studies in the first year of tertiary education to care for her mom. And then of course Dani and Dian actually was too small, so they were passed from one relative's house to another because they needed someone to look after them lah. And at one point when they could qualify for uni, they did not choose it because they wanted to serve their family, and their family needed them more lah at that point. Okay, so that's what happened to the whole family. So I think I would just like to summarize everything with this quote. Buying life insurance cannot change your life. It will not change whether or not Filza had that cancer or the elephantiasis, or whether Ahmad got permanently damaged, got his brains permanently damaged. But what it does is it prevents your lifestyle from being changed. After toiling for decades, an illness can really wipe out entire family savings by the medical bills incurred. Okay, so let's revisit this. Okay, so what Filza and her family had for themselves was the hospital plan, right? So the hospital bills was all covered, at least for Filza lah. So Ahmad had employee benefits. He didn't have hospital plan. So after he stopped working, right, he actually did not have any coverage for himself. So he took for the whole family except for himself, because he depended on the employee benefits. So that's a wrong step actually. So now he currently does not have any coverages. but he did have disability payout from his company, which helped them to float a bit. Yeah, while waiting for things to settle down or figure out what to do next. So in that sense, the hospital and disability part more or less like covered lah and for them. But what could have been better was for Filza to actually have a critical illness plan and a disability plan. So she could have claimed for all three, for stroke, cancer, and elephantiasis. So all these three are considered critical illnesses. And why is it for? Because she's not working, right? So we are not exactly replacing her income. It's more of the added expenses like professional help, sending the kids to to childcare, for example, so that they shouldn't be passed over from one house to another house, like basically to have a consistent figure like looking after them. So this disability payout, on the other hand, will actually help her because she's an elephantiasis patient, right? So an elephantiasis patient, more or less, their mobility is actually being hindered. So it could have actually allowed their children to continue their studies without having to think about how the parents gonna be like at home. Yeah. So these are the things I felt was a shortfall of the family, and I think I hope this helps to contextualize for you how these insurances apply in your lives, because I think a lot of people are confused, like if I don't take critical illness plan, does it mean when I get diagnosed with cancer I won't be covered for my hospital bills? So it's totally separate. When you are diagnosed and you have treatments in the hospital, if you have the hospital plan, you will be covered, but you won't get a lump sum payout to stop working. Yeah, so the lump sum payout to stop working, for example, under critical illness or disability, is to help you pay for your monthly house bills, your expenses, while not having an income coming in. Yeah, because you probably need that time to recover. Yeah, okay. And of course, touching a bit on accident. So there's no accident situation over here, but basically accident covers road traffic and for poisoning, dengue, and many others. So it covers things that are outpatient, especially. For example, you go to the GP because you had a fall. Like I had a client like last 2 weeks. She was just walking at home. Like what are the odds that she can bang her hand on a wall and have a hairline fracture, right? Yeah, but it happened. And she went to the E&E and exchange everything, and she managed to claim under the accident plan. Yeah. So so these are the 5 basic things I feel is very important to have inside the protection plan or the protection layer. So that in case of any unexpected situations, you know that you won't be a liability for your family. I think that's the worst thing that can happen, to be a liability while you're still alive, and then on top of that, leaving your family in debts with the hospital, for example. Yeah, so I'm sure some of you might have started, or your parents might have allowed you to plan, or they took 5 actually inside your basic protection layer. Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned, there are many more I would say elements to the protection layer. But I think I will also talk to you guys a bit more on how to navigate the technologies of insurances.
All right, Bismillah. Assalamualaikum, everybody. I'm just going to expand on what Diana has said earlier. So next, we're going to just touch the things that you have heard or might not heard before. So usually these are the common policies available in the market. So when we talk about life insurances, it's not only relating to death benefit, we are also talking about total permanent disability payout and also critical illnesses. So nowadays, companies are of other special conditions as well. So when we talk about what Diana mentioned, more on accidents and more of a reimbursement basis. Disability income insurance, this is mainly for temporary disablement. So basically what's going to happen is the person insured is going to get a lump sum of their monthly income if they are unable to work for their own occupation for a temporary period of time, usually about 3 to 6 months. And general insurance, we talk about home insurance, travel insurance, maid insurance, and even things such as pet insurance. Yeah, all this goes under general insurance, and corporate insurance usually only being offered by employers through the employee benefit. Okay, so next please. And then when we talk about plans, so what are the plans available in terms of the life insurance and testing? There's this term life. So term life usually they cover for a period of time, or most likely they are known as term plan. So term plan, they only cover for a lump sum money, and they are more of an affordable plan, but give you a very high sum assured. But then again, term plan usually doesn't have any cash value. So we talk about MRTA, which is mortgage, basically to cover for the house loan, the mortgage loan. We also talk about whole life plan, universal life. Universal life is more of a legacy planning. If we talk about savings, there's things such as endowment for a period of time, as early as 5 years, 10 years, 25 years term. We also talk about investment linked plan, or mostly known as ILPs. So nowadays, ILPs, they can be customized through by having insurance to be adding on top of the investment as well. General insurance, like I mentioned earlier, more to the travel insurance, home insurance, accident and health, and corporate solutions. So corporate solutions is only available through employers. So depending on your employer and what type of plans that they want to customize for their employees. So these are the GP benefit, the dental benefit, and some employers might choose to also add on life insurance for their employees, right? So, okay, so next, basically, if you are quite new to these jargons, I'm just going to share with you the terminologies that you might, that you're going to hear quite often. These are the common terms that you should know when you step out into the working world. So when we say about sum assured, so sum assured is actually a decided amount that the insurance company pays out to you in the event of unfortunate unfortunate event that leads to critical illnesses or disability. So this sum assured is where we determine in terms of the guideline based on your income or based on your dependents, how young your dependents are. So because we don't want to be overinsured or even underinsured, sorry. Okay, so when we talk about premiums, basically is how much that you're paying for the policy. And loading. If you have heard about loading, loading is actually a term to say that it's an additional payment premium that you have to make on top of the base plan. So usually loading will be offered to those who are holding high risk occupation, for example, firefighters. So firefighters are due to the nature of their work, their job hazard, most likely insurers will load them 100% for disability. So other than that, we talk about pre-existing condition and family history. Just to share with you, I have a client. She has a family history of diabetes. Her mother, her parents, and her siblings all having diabetes, but she's well and healthy. Although she's young and most likely she will not get diabetes now, but because of the family history, the company doesn't want to take the risks that's going to be loaded on them. So what they did is they offered her the full plan, the benefit 100%, but she needs to pay more premium. So I would say it is better for us to just pay the extra premium rather than not having coverage at all. Okay, so next one, we talk about cash or surrender value. So basically it means the monetary value that you will get at that point of time. So cash value or surrender. Surrender value, usually they will terminate at the time of termination, how much you're gonna get the money. So that is called a surrender value. Okay, so maturity, the surrender value, depending on the plans that you have, not all policies have surrender value. That means there's no money inside lah. Okay, maturity, yeah, that's the end of the policy term. So depending again on what type of plan do you have, it can be as early as 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, or up to age 100 years old. And waiting period, we define as a period of time, usually about 3 months, whereby since the inception of the plan, whereby you cannot make any claims. So this is to, this applies usually for critical illness coverage. This is to also protect the interest of the company, to make sure that the insured doesn't have any pre-existing condition that can lead to a claim. So to prevent fraud lah, in a way. And the last one is free look period. So basically, free look period meaning you are allowed to have a change of mind should you want to terminate the plan within 14 to 30 days once the plan is incepted. So this is especially good when you are thinking about the plan, whether the plan can serve you or whether the plan can benefit you, but you want to get insured ASAP. So that is where the company gives you an allowance to think again through this free look period. All right. So the next one, and yeah, this is the rider. I'm sure all of you would have heard about a rider. So a rider meaning is a benefit that rides on the main plan. So it cannot be bought alone on a standalone basis. If you do not have the base plan, you cannot add on the rider. So common riders are premium waiver, hospital rider. Premium waiver meaning in the event if you are diagnosed with any critical illnesses or whatever the benefit there is for the premium waiver, then the whole policy will be paid for. That means they waive off your premiums. So it's an additional premium, I would say. And hospital rider, this one only attached to the hospital plan. So just for your info, I'm sure you have heard MOH recently changed the ruling of hospitalization plans. There is no more 100% coverage, only 95%. So this hospital rider is the cash portion that you top up on top of your MediSave plan to make sure that there's a cap to how much of the 5% that you are supposed to pay out of pocket. And then prenatal rider, okay, so most of the plans nowadays, there is also such thing as a maternity plan, whereby they cover more for pregnancy complications and even congenital illnesses. So you can check it out, inshallah, if in future if the females are expecting. And payer benefit. So payer benefit always is always being attached to a policy that the insured is a child, a minor. So this is to protect the payer. If the payer were to pass on or get diagnosed with any illnesses, then the policy will be paid for the child. Okay, so basically, these are the common terminologies that you should know before meeting an advisor. So I'm sure you all are planning to get into the workforce, and this is something that could be useful for you lah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana and Aini. I'm sure you've learned a lot about the importance of insurance and their various coverages from your sharing. It's very important to know these terms and the different coverages, because sometimes we might not think we need it, right? But the fact that we know some basic knowledge about it allows us to quickly purchase them if we see the need for it as well. So no immediate rush for those who really feel a bit lost about the entire field of insurance. But we hope that you've learned a little bit about what different insurance plans would cover and some of the terminology, so that you guys can be more prepared to buy insurance next time, inshallah. So for our next segment, thank you so much, firstly, Diana and Aini. I also like to invite Daniel and Zalifa from TheLepakFinance to share about budgeting, side incomes, and also investing. Bismillah.
All right. Okay. Before I start, thank you everyone for coming. I see that there's a lot of people today. I think there's like 55 people. A lot of people I recognize. I'm so happy to see that more and more people of our age are taking charge of their personal finance. And I hope that with my sharing today, I can add value to whether it is about budgeting or personal finance. All right. So okay, slides are ready. So let's go. I assume. Okay. Is it possible to full screen, Adil? You cannot also, it's okay lah.
Yeah, I think he's working on it. Just
hold on.
Sure.
All right, okay. This is a full screenable application.
Okay. Just hold on. Okay, can you see?
All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Adil.
Okay, thank you, Adil. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so today I'll be covering, me and my partner, me and Zalifa will be covering about budgeting and side income. So today I'll cover the first part, which is the introduction to budgeting and how to go about managing your cash flows. Whereas Zalifa will cover the how to generate side income, and it's more relevant to students as opposed to adults. But yeah, take whatever is relevant for you. And yeah. Okay, so first let's talk about budgeting. So what is exactly budgeting? How I would put budgeting or describe budgeting is not about trying to control your finances in a way that, you know, I must only spend this amount, but it's more like to create a plan for yourself. So it's creating a plan for your money and deciding where your money is going to. Because budgeting in essence is just a way to tell you, okay, am I putting my money into where I should put it, or am I putting it into something that I don't necessarily have to put it into? So next slide, Adil. Yeah, as I said just now, it's about creating a plan for your money. Next slide. Okay, so why is it important is actually, aside from just telling you about where your money is going into, it's also helping you answer some important financial questions when you're looking at your personal expenses. You're going to be able to answer questions such as, do I have enough money for this purchase, or is this something that I really need or want? And when we are able to answer these questions effectively, we are able to make better and more informed personal finance decisions. And this will help us to stray away from taking on unnecessary debt such as credit card loans, credit cards, or etc., which might put us in a more precarious position towards encountering some financial difficulties sometime down in the future. All right. So next slide. So before we even begin to talk about how we should budget, we need to understand how we are as a person first. And in order to do that, we need to know our spending. So in order to know our spending, what I would really recommend for everyone here to do is to actually, next slide, Ade, is to actually look back at your past 3 to 6 months of expenses. And the purpose of this is to look back and see what kind of spending habits do you have. You will be able to identify each purchase that you have made, and you will be able to explain to yourself, is this a need or is this a want, or how much have I saved? And when we understand and identify our spending habits, we will be able to use a budgeting framework or a budgeting method that suits our style of spending. So from there, when we identify our needs and wants, we can then calculate some spending ratios, saving ratios to gauge where we are currently. And then moving forward, we can do effective budgeting. So that's the first step, knowing how to spend. So I'll just go through some simple calculations and an example of how you can do this. So let's say I earn $1,000 a month and I spend 500 on needs, 300 on wants, and 200 on savings. So I will want to calculate, for every $1 I earn, how much am I spending on something that I need? Or in this case, it will be 50% because I spent $500 out of my 1,000. And for the wants, it will be 30%. And for the savings, how much I save each month is 20%. And for out of all these ratios, the ratios that I would feel is the most important is the needs ratio and the savings ratio. For when we want to save, right, I would recommend at least to save about 20% of your income. But I understand that this is not possible for people with a smaller amount of income or a smaller part-time income. So for those people who are earning or saving less than 20% of their income, try to work, instead of cutting your spending, look at increasing your earnings potential, because sometimes it's not about cutting where it's unnecessary and all of that. It's more about boosting how much you earn in the first place in order for you to be able to to save effectively. All right, so next slide. Yeah, so now we'll be covering some budgeting methods, very simple ones. First one is the percentage rule. So the idea is very simple. You're going to be splitting and identifying your spending habits, and then you're going to split. So next slide, we'll have the 50-30-20 rule, which is basically saying I'm going to allocate 50% to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. This is a very simple and usually is the starting framework for many people who want to learn budgeting. There is also an alternative percentage rule, which is on the next slide, which is the 40-30-20-10 rule. Essentially, it's the same thing. It's just that the money is going into different purposes for different people. So for the 40-30-20-10, 40% is going for loans, 30% is going for expenses, 20% is for savings, and 10% is for insurance, etc., etc. So the good thing about this method is that it's actually quite flexible. And next slide, Adi. It's actually quite flexible, and it still can remain somewhat structured. It's also very detailed because you can know where your money is going to specifically. But what's the disadvantage is that we should still try and maintain a 20% savings ratio. Otherwise, we try to raise our income, as I mentioned earlier. This is the method I would recommend for people who want to just start budgeting and try to figure out where they are in terms of their spending habits. All right, next one. So next one is envelope or cash only budgeting. So this is a very common method for people who are overspenders. I would recommend this for overspenders. And why? Okay, first, the idea is that we're going to plan our spending for the next month, and then we're going to split our money or split our spending into 4 different envelopes, so 1 for each week. But before all of this splitting, we need to make sure we already have allocated some money to save. The rest of the money that we're going to be using to spend, we're going to split into 4 weeks accordingly, and then we're going to use or we're gonna take one envelope and we're gonna use it for that 1 week, and that's it. If you run out of money, you cannot spend more. So this is a very good way to discipline yourself to control. And another good thing about this is that when it forces you to save, right? You don't have to really think too much about am I saving enough? It's more of, can I control myself in my spending? But the problem with this is that if you are someone who might somehow encounter some emergency spending, then you might need to carry additional debit cards around in order to fund that necessary spending. Otherwise, you might also need to carry a lot of cash, which is also problematic. All right, the third method I want to cover is the no budget method, which is the one I use out of all the three. So the no budget method is a bit counterintuitive, but it's very simple. You're gonna automate your spending. So what does this mean? At the start of your month, right, of the month or the day you earn your income, you're gonna set aside straight away the money that you're gonna have to save, and then you're gonna set aside the money you need for your necessary things like your insurances, your loans, payments, etc., etc. And then after that, we're gonna look to at our checking account. We're gonna have a limit to how much we can spend in that month. So we just need to look, and then we can spend as freely as possible because we already have a capped amount on our checking account, and where we spend it, we cannot overspend that amount. So this is a very good way to experience some flexible sort of budgeting as well as spending, which is a good thing. But the problem with this, right, is for people who are not disciplined, they'll be tempted to overspend. And oftentimes when we take this method of budgeting, there's no fixed plan. So for people who are disciplined spenders and know what's a need, what's a want, and when they can buy something or afford something, I would definitely recommend something like the no budget method. All right, so moving on, I'll share a bit about some of the tools and apps me and Zalifa uses. So this is just a touch and go thing. There's more apps available, but yeah, these are some. So we use, I think Zalifa uses Seedly app to track her expenses. I personally use Planner.b, but now I do use some Excel sheets to track, as well as just to check on my bank statement every other fortnight, so that I can know that if I'm on track to meet my budgeting needs for the month. Yeah, so for that, with that I covered my budgeting slide. Now I'll pass the time over to Zalifa.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. So I'll be sharing more on the side income for students who would like to generate more money. So let's next slide. So next slide. So what is it and why is it important? So what is it is essentially, next slide. It is any additional source of income to supplement the current one that you have. Next slide. Why is it important? It is actually your personal safety net after your emergency funds. It's because emergency funds will eventually run out at times when you need to use them. So building side income will help to make that fund last longer, such that when you're running low, you got more time to plan. And it also allows you to save more for any near-term goals that you have by not touching your main income. And it also helps to pay off your debts faster, because paying off your debts completely is one of the steps to financial freedom. And lastly, it is a form of you to use your time more productively, because think about all the free time that you could use to perhaps earn a few dollars that leads you nearer to your financial goals. Next slide. So I'll be sharing a bit on the different types of side income that some of you will be interested in. Firstly, we have business. So starting a small business. This is for students or anyone who wants to take charge of your own money, so independent people. And this usually the case is through skills that you have and things that you love and are passionate about. So the examples are in the next slide, which are maybe like photography, illustration, or cropping clothes. And these are essentially easy to start with because these are already things that you are already equipped the skills with, or also have the equipments to begin. Next, we have surveys. As clickbait and hard to believe this is, you get paid for completing surveys. So these are for people who are willing to be very, very patient and just want even the smallest side income. So these are different platforms, and different platforms varies depending on when they will need your inputs. How it works is that you complete the surveys whenever it's necessary, you collect points, and you can, when you reach a number of points, you can actually redeem the rewards. And the rewards include, as far as I'm aware, supermarket, Grab, 7-Eleven vouchers, and cash via PayNow or PayPal. However, these are non-stable nor fast side income. So I wouldn't recommend these as like your main side income if any of you are interested in, but more of just a little bit of money here and there. The next slide is referral. So
straightforward, refer and earn. How it works is that you use platforms that you are already a user of to generate cash back by referring somebody. So most often, once you refer a friend using your code, you'll be given an incentive when that person actually signs up. Next slide. So here are some of the examples. So yes, and there's also affiliate programs. So affiliate programs are essentially for those who would like to sign up, and you can earn commission upon a transaction that you make when someone uses your unique URL link. And I think this is quite most common. I think the one that everyone knows is Shopee. So yes, affiliates do earn commission when others actually use your URL to purchase something. And the next one, we have the more common part-time jobs, which are, next slide, tutoring, retail, coach trainer, events, F&B, and delivery. So for those who might not know, they pay by hour. So except for delivery, which is by order. So this is something that is more stable for those who like to commit a few hours of their time a week. And most of the time, me, my friends, and a lot of people I know who are still schooling, this is one of like the more easier to cope with in terms of side income. And the last one that I'll be sharing is dividends. And next slide. They are small payout for stock investors as rewards, and how it works is that they are paid out when a company earns profits, often every 3 months. So essentially, the more you invest and have shares of a company, then the more dividend you receive when a company actually earns profit. However, dividends are non-guaranteed because not all companies who earn profit will actually give dividends. So I suggest for those who are looking into dividends, you might need to research on the companies that actually give these payouts. Yeah, and that is all from TheLepakFinance. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Zalifa, and thank you, Daniel. So if you guys are wondering why we are covering just a small segment about investments, we actually have another event planned for you guys in August that will focus mainly on investments, halal investing opportunities. So stay tuned for that. But thank you, TheLepakFinance and MFAG for our segments tonight. So at this point of time, if anybody has any questions, right, feel free to go to our Slido link and go on the Slido link, pump in any questions you guys have. And we also need your help to upvote the questions that you guys think are relevant, because we have a lot of questions from what we are seeing at our Slido today. So upvote those who you think are relevant, and we can answer the top few later on for Q&A. So at this point of time, we have a section where we are going to answer some FAQs regarding personal finance and investments. And thank you, Adi, for getting the slide ready as I'm finishing translating to the next segment. All right, so I'll pose the first question to our guest speakers for tonight. Next slide, please. So the first question, all right, okay, I'll just give Adi a moment as well. All right, okay. Is it important to start early in managing our personal finance and investments? So I'll give MFAG, Nurul, and also Diana to answer first.
Okay, thank you, Siddiq. I think the importance lies in how well you adjust to things, I feel. Because let's say if you start something like, investment when you're in your 30s, but you're already so used to a certain lifestyle, maybe a lavish lifestyle, and you find it hard to actually put aside some money for investments. And then I think that would cause some adjustment issues. So I would say the best time to start is actually when you get your first pay, because that's when you already get to sort out how do you spend, how do you save. But if you are way past that, right, then it's never too late. Just have to put in more effort to adjust to the putting money aside for your investments or your insurances. Yeah, I do have parents who even start for the kids, an investment plan or savings plan from when they are 13 weeks in the womb. Yeah, so that's how early you can start for a child, for example.
Wow.
Yeah, but of course that's like a different scenario, and I understand everyone has different circumstances. So yeah.
Thank you, Diana. Okay. So for Zalifa and also for Daniel, right, I would like to ask you guys a slightly tweaked version of this question. So I'm sure you guys have already started your personal finance and investment journey as co-founders of TheLepakFinance. So maybe you guys can share with us like some reasons why you guys decided to start early.
Okay, so for myself, why I chose to start early was actually I realized that a lot of people in Singapore back in I think was like 2018, 2017 when I first delved into trying to learn about people economics and people spending habits. One of the key or one of the scary figures that I found out was that there was about 30 to 40% of people that were in quite a significant amount of credit card debt in Singapore. So that was something that was alarming to me, in the sense that although we are one of the highest earning people within our region, right, we have still a lack of personal finance discipline as well as literacy. So we don't really make very wise financial decisions. And this is not just between like lower skilled workers or higher skilled workers. It's just throughout the board, where everyone is just taking very poor financial decisions. So that was what made me very interested in taking up personal finance and investing in general, because I feel like there's no one who can take care of ourselves in terms of our money better than us. When we know how we spend, when we know how we save, we will be able to, you know, decide what's the best way we can manage our own money. Yeah, that's my take.
Thank you, Daniel. Zalifa, is it the same as Daniel, or do you have other your own reasons as well?
I think for me, it's more of a very personal reason of when I step into tertiary, that's when my allowance actually decreased. And then in the course of study, which is I'm in design, right? I have to pay a lot of stuff myself, and printing for one project can go up to like $100. So it was, I think like year one hit me that I spent a lot. It was close to like $300 for my first semester. And that's when I realized that my money is never going to build if I'm not going to work for it. That's when I start to like research for like personal finance, like stuff, and actually start to look into how to build my money essentially lah. Yeah. And also because I think like based on my personal experience in school, we don't really talk about money. We just know how to spend it. So I was finding ways to like build my income and also sort of like go with my daily expenses. Yeah.
Okay, thank you both of you guys for sharing. I'll move on to the next question, which is already shown on our slides here. And this question is, what are good personal finance goals to have by the time you graduate university? Or for those who are not in that phase of life, maybe at the age of maybe 24 to 27 years old, what are good personal finance goals? And fun fact, actually, when we were dry running this event, we all were looking forward to get Nuru's experience, because she's the one that's most experienced out of all of us. She's 6 years into the industry. So I'll just get her to start off with some goals she thinks we should have as university students, by the time we graduate. Bismillah.
All right. So I think what we can start now before graduating is to keep some savings from your allowances that you have, because most likely when by the time we graduate, it's not like we can get a job immediately, depending on what job that we want or looking at the time and the circumstances at the moment. So probably having some savings will help you to keep afloat while waiting to get a permanent job. So I think that is one of the one of the goal that you can set. Other than that, try to already set aside your expenses listing. So you know by the time you get your first pay, you won't be too overjoyed to just spend everything. At least you know what are the commitments that you have, the long-term commitments, and list down the goals that you want to do, maybe your wise in terms of short-term, medium-term, or even long-term goals. Yeah.
Thank you. I think all of us have a small practice of starting to get our first pay ready, since most of us are on our internships during summer for university students. So that small amount of $800, you can start practicing a little bit. Thank you so much for that sharing. I'll move on to Daniel. As a university student yourself, what are some goals you think you should have by the time you graduate university?
Right. So for myself, when what I feel, at least for students to be for it to be somewhat relevant, is that I don't think it's fair to expect everyone to start investing, because for most students they don't really most students they don't really have a part-time job during the school term. Some will do, but not everyone. So what I would say is to try and build personal finance habits, things like saving, things like tracking your own spending. When you try and build the financial discipline very early on, and when it's time to graduate and you have a bigger amount to spend and all that, you'll realize that all of these inner habits that you already have built over time will stick with you, and that's very, very good. For those people who already have partners and you guys are already planning for, I don't know, BTO or marriage or all of that, maybe take this time, if you're serious about it, to sit down and try and figure out what sort of timeline do you have. Are you giving yourself like 5 years? Are you giving yourself a bit longer, a bit shorter? And from there, you start to plan out your spending in terms of how much you're going to spend for all these significant milestones that are coming up, because all of this will require a significant amount of money that you don't have currently. So by having goals set for your next few years of your lifetime, like a 5-year plan, I think that's very good for you when you want to know how to budget effectively moving forward. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, so I'll move on to the last question we have for our FAQ, and probably the most interesting question. And I'll open it to the floor of you guys. If anyone would like to unmute yourselves to share. So this question is: should Muslims strive to be rich? I'm sure this question comes to our minds, all of our minds, at least once when we think about personal finance or investing.
Maybe I'll go first.
All right.
I think there's always this narrative that people say, rich get richer, and we always present the rich as like somewhat in a negative light, that is something that is not really pursued, that really we shouldn't pursue. But I feel like how we deal with our money how we choose to use our money when we are rich can really help to benefit the society. So for example, if you're rich, you'll be able to create jobs. If you start a business, you'll be able to feed you'll be able to provide people with income to feed their families or to support themselves. That's one thing. So the other thing is that you're also able to contribute back more to the community, not just in terms of your time, but also, of course, you can contribute your money or your resources towards efforts to help community building. So I don't think that we should not strive to be rich. I will actually encourage everyone to strive to be rich so that we can give back value to people around us, to the community, and especially to those who are needy or who are less privileged than us. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone from MFAG, you guys would like to share your perspectives?
Yeah, sure. I think Daniel pretty much sums up what I want to say, but I'll just add on a bit more. I think this question kind of like helps us to think about our intention behind being rich. And like I think Daniel said about giving back to the community. So I think inside our Islamic history also, we know that some of the richest people in our Islamic history, Abraham ibn Auf, Khadijah bin Khuwailid, they actually contributed a lot to the da'wah efforts by Rasulullah. And he actually, so I think it's really our intention. Our actions are really based upon our intention. And again, I think for me personally, financial planning is not really for me to become rich or for me to become a millionaire, but rather to have the freedom of not being tied down by environment because of the lack of money. For example, being tied down by toxic relationships because I'm afraid that I won't have money if I get out of it. Or I'm tied down by a toxic job because I'm afraid that I won't have the money if I get off the job. So I think for me, financial freedom is that. It's not really about being a millionaire or anything, but having that freedom to make your own choices. Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. I would like to also add on the fact that I'm sure you guys have your own perspective and your thoughts as well. So if you guys would like to continue discussion, we are happy to share the link to TheLepakFinance Telegram group. You can talk to Daniel and Zalifa and many others in the Telegram group yourselves. And we will also love to share the contact addresses of both Nurul and Diana for you guys to arrange any appointments you guys would like to discuss with them regarding insurance or any of the topics that we are talking about today. So thank you all of you guys for your sharing. So before we close off our session tonight with a Q&A session from Slido, our second last segment of the night will be an industry introduction sharing by MFAG about the financial services industry. I know you guys have a lot of questions, so they will be focused on answering these questions. So also a friendly reminder, do help us to upvote the questions you guys are interested in on our Slido so that we can properly answer them later. So I'll pass my time on to Diana and
Okay. Yep. Okay. So thank you so much, Siddiq. I think we'll make it quick because I'm sure you guys want your answers to be your questions to be answered. Okay. So before we actually go into the career track or whatever question you guys have, I think Aini and I just want to share with you guys a bit more about why we chose to actually join this industry. I think it's only fair that we do that, because we do not want to only talk about the beautiful things in this industry and not tap on like the challenges lah. Okay. So yeah, I think at the start, Siddiq already mentioned that I did not come from originally I did not come from the finance background lah, or like industry. It's not my first job. My first job was in a social service organization, a startup. So why I started out in a startup, because I felt that being in a startup would actually really help me learn a lot lah, because there's a lot of things that you guys need to do yours, like I need to do myself, because I'm in a startup, like the structure, everything. We are still figuring out, right? So, and I enjoyed it already, the environment, the culture. However, my mentor in Majalah always told me that you need to grow, go out there, make a change differently and stuff like that. So over here, the pictures you see are some of my events or like programs in Majalah. And over here, I also listed down why, not why lah, but I stated that there were many reasons why I did not why I should not join the career, but there were more reasons for me to join the career. So just to share with you a bit more about the why I decided to join the career, I think firstly, being in Majalah, where I was dealing a lot with the youths, I realized that some people, they were not born into poverty. It's a lot of poor financial management, and hence it actually creates a vicious cycle where the kids get thrown into it, and they have then social problems occur, and it's always the same thing all over again. So then asking myself, what if the money problems didn't exist? Would it be different for the kids? Would they have led different lives? Of course, I'm not saying that social problems only stem from money problems. No, that's not true. There are a lot of factors that cause social problems, but money problems is one of the biggest, I would say significant factors lah. Yeah, that cause social problems that I saw, at least in Majalah community. Yeah, so that's like one of the things, right? So what do I do then with that knowledge or that experience? So I thought, if we cannot help the lower community, the low income community to rise up quickly, because probably they are already at the zakat disbursement, and they are the people who are receiving zakat. Though at least I could help the people who are in the middle income to not go down to the low income, and instead rise higher, and hence giving back to the community better lah, like what Daniel mentioned just now. So that's first. Secondly, if you guys remember the story that I shared just now, that's actually a story of my family. The whole family, Ahmad, Filza, yeah, that's actually my family. I think I saw how my family's financial advisor dealt with our family's claims and everything. So I was deeply impacted by her work and like inspired by what she did for the family. And I realized that, what if we did not have any of it? Like perhaps our lives would have been worse lah. I mean, in a way, I would have had to quit school like earlier, kind of thing. But thankfully, but don't worry, like my siblings are like doing well now, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so we're okay now. Yeah, so so I think those were like the two main reasons for me lah. Like I felt the impact of financial planning and the shortage of financial planning actually. And of course, seeing the people around me, the youths I worked with, I mentored, I realized that there has to be something more that I could do lah in this for the community. Yeah, and I hope that grounds me, inshallah. Yeah.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you. I think your story is inspiring. I did not expect that what you shared at the front of our session tonight would apply back again, and it will be your story. So it's actually pretty inspiring from your sharing. So we'll close off our segment tonight with
sorry,
Q&A.
we have a bit more to share.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Okay, wait. So sorry, I'll pass back my time to you.
Okay, I'm just gonna make this very quick just to share with you a little bit about myself. So I graduated from SP in Diploma in Maritime Transportation Management. So basically I wasn't from any financial background either. So I wanted to do more than just in the marine industry. I wanted to impact more lives. So I quit my maritime industry after I got married, and I joined in a Muslim organization that also offers zakat as well. So some of my job scope is to meet with recipients, discussing and interviewing them to see and assess whether they are eligible to get zakat funds. As you know, zakat funds is a very sensitive money that we need to be dispersing to the right people. So from there, I feel that I want to do more. Like, how can I actually help them just to share with you, I grew up from a low-income family as well. We used to rely a lot on financial assistance. So somewhat or rather, I can relate to what they were experiencing. So I wanted to help more in the sense that why not I want to try to help people, those who are in the middle income, not to go low, beyond the lower income, to go lower, is either to maintain their standard or to just go higher. So I managed to find MFAG. So Alhamdulillah, it has been the best decision ever for me. In terms of the job satisfaction is different. I'm actually assisting people to plan their life or change their life through proper financial planning. So it's been, this is my 6th financial year. So far, I've met a lot of people, and Alhamdulillah, I hope they have also benefited from whatever that I've assisted them in a way. So in a way, I would say that no job is ever easy, but with the right intention, it is doable. So in a way, this career actually helps me a lot in building my character, and also to help me to boost my my confidence, and also my soft skills. So I would say I've in many companies before. In the marine industry, I actually was in a lot of sectors. So I would say in this industry that we are in, our success is not measured by the merit or how highly educated you are. It is being measured to how much hard work, I would say, that you actually give in to your clients. And I would say this is the only industry so far that there's no boundaries such as red tapes to get to where you want to be. So inshallah, it is not like how you need your boss to like you, or you need to prove to them that you're worthy. No, this is to how much that you want to impact the community. So in this career also, it allows me to improve the quality of my life, my family, and be there for my family's milestone. So I do not need to worry about, having to take leave just to make sure that I bring my parents to the medical appointments, having to make sure that, to worry about contributing monetary to the organization. In terms of charitable organization, it's not only about monetary, I can also lend a helping hand in terms of my effort as well. Yeah, so that is the pros about the organization, the industry. But of course, our job, there's always a pro and con to a job. So the con of the job is most likely weekend you'll be working as well, because that's where people are not working, and that's where you need to meet people lah. So the other good thing about the job, just to share with you, Alhamdulillah, comparing to my old workplace, this job allows me to actually plan my day around prayer timings. So there's no reason why I should miss prayer timings compared to if I were to work in a normal 9-to-5 job. Yeah, so this is the only industry that I would say reward you for your hard work and effort. Yeah, I think we can just move on then.
Yeah, so that's talking about our intentions, our big why of why we joined this industry. And I would say I think it's very important because it's a journey, really. It's a marathon, it's not a race, really. Every month is different challenge, and if we do not have a big why of why we enter this industry, it's gonna be tough lah, basically. Okay. Yeah, so we had some questions posed by you, and we're not gonna address everything. I think we had more lah, but these are the things that we're gonna address, and hopefully this will help you to understand better what is the industry all about. Okay, compared to just reading from forums. Yeah. Okay. So Aini, you want to go first?
Okay, so this is a very common question that they ask. So how's the pay scale like and the progression in this career? So yes, if you know, our career mainly relies on commission base, but don't worry, the first 2 years usually you'll be supported by the company for a basic pay. So if you look in the long run, how you're gonna get, to grow your income is mostly from your commissions and then your renewals. And for this company also, there's this thing called career benefit, which will be paid out on 3rd year onwards. So other than that, in terms of bonuses, I would say it's quarterly. Every quarter we get bonuses. So I would say there's no income ceiling in this industry. So how much effort you put in, that is how much you are being paid, inshallah. And just to share with you, in terms of a pay scale, Last year, a few new consultants, how much they're earning? They're actually earning about 150,000 on their first year. Yeah.
Okay,
So basically,
yeah, so I'll talk about
sorry.
the progression. No problem. Are you done? Okay. Yeah. So I'll talk about the progression. Sorry, I think we are short for time. So I think what Aini said about being rewarded beyond whatever people think of you is very true in this industry lah. So you see in the first two milestones, actually in your first year lah, there's the Head Start and the MDC Silver or Gold, right? There's actually a measure of how well you're doing in this industry, and I really like the reward system lah because I can measure whether I'm growing, whether I'm progressing, and this is actually available, I think, in all companies, just maybe different kind of reward system lah. Yeah, okay. So after the first year, there's the second year where you strive for a higher tier. So the silver, gold, and platinum is actually reward tiers lah. So every year, of course, you want to like rise higher and do better. Yeah, and that's how your progress is measured. Besides like growing in terms of skills and knowledge. Yeah. On the third year, FSM stands for Financial Services Manager. So for those who prefer the leadership track, they can actually progress to a manager position instead of just remaining as a consultant. But you can remain as a consultant if you want to, because there's also progression like senior consultant, master consultant that you can actually look forward to lah. But for managers, basically what they are doing is they are building people to be better than them. Yeah, so FSM, and then you go to FSAD, which is Financial Services Associate Director in year 4. And all of this promotion, firstly, of course, you need to be recommended, but secondly, it's also based on how well you do in terms of like advising. Is there any? Because for us, besides commission, we do have like other forms of scorecard that actually validate whether we are actually advising our clients well lah. So it's not just commission based. Yeah, and another thing is if you do well enough and you want to do your own agency, you can actually progress to FSD, which is Financial Services Director. It's basically founding your own agency with your own people, with your own vision and mission. Yeah, so the progress is quite consistent. I feel if you want to do it, the opportunity is always there. Just a matter whether you want to like grab it or not. Yeah, so that's about the progression. Yeah. The next one, we'll just talk about qualification. Yep, Aini?
Yeah, qualifications to be a financial services consultant, minimally 21 years old, holding minimally A-levels or diploma, and you have to actually clear 4 papers. These are being papers by MAS, so we call it M5, HI, M9, and M9E.
Yep. So for our company, is everything sponsored lah, but this is not consistent for all companies. Yeah. Okay, so we also received a question, what is the difference between Muslim and non-Muslim advisors? I think just like how you go to different doctors, right, to get your consultation, similarly, some prefer this advisor over the other, depending on what's the value that the advisor brings lah. But in terms of like generally, for Muslim advisors, there are some things that we are obligated to know as Muslims, right, and hence we can also offer to our clients, like is insurance haram? I think I saw in your Slido, like a lot of people were like asking, like is insurance haram? Is endowment haram? Like which investment funds should I use? What about the zakat calculation and the Faraid ruling? So I wouldn't expect a non-Muslim advisor to be able to advise you guys on this lah. I mean, they are not obligated to know also. So I think this poses like a big difference between a non-Muslim and a Muslim advisor. Yeah. Yeah, so the next part is do financial services include investment advice or personal finance? It's both and more. Okay, so there's insurance, there's budgeting and investment. And of course, when it comes to investment, we need to do zakat calculation for you once it exceeds the NISAB value. The legacy planning for people who want to leave something behind for their families. And some people, they want to like set up their will and trust for when they are no longer around. They want to ensure that the insurance proceeds actually go to the right channels lah. And of course, people always ask us things that are not in our purview, like CPF, like we are not supposed to advise on it, but we do lah, just as an added value, like DPS. I think early this year, you guys might have gotten a lot of letters about DPS, like what is it about, right? So people do ask us and we do answer lah. And yeah, I think lastly, just to summarize, again, insurance, investment, whatever is it, firstly, I think it's good for us to invest and save for our future. But if you get diagnosed, nauzubillah, with cancer, the first thing on your mind wouldn't be how do I make $500,000. It will be how do I put food on the table without having income coming in. So your investment might not be doing well at the point that you are being diagnosed. Hence, insurance where it's guaranteed sum assured. Okay, and the second one that I want to touch on is that we plan, but Allah also plans. But we know that we must tie our camel and then we tawakal or put our trust in Allah. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. The next part is actually, if you'd like to connect us, this is our email, then there's like a link for you to like follow up in case of like, you want to ask more questions via like consultation or anything in terms of like career or even personal finance. You can reach us at the link or even our phone number. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not interrupting anybody. All right. Thank you, Diana and Nurul, for the sharing. Later on, we'll be sharing a message into the WhatsApp group that you guys already added in, the compilation of all the links that we have shared during this session itself. So thank you for sharing about the industry. We really hope that the intention for this industry sharing is to let some of our Muslim brothers and sisters who are actually interested in industry to learn more about it, to make a more informed decision to whether you want to come in or not. There's a need for financial advisors in our community, and I hope that more and more of us become well-intentioned financial advisors that will serve the community in the future. So thank you, MFAG, for sharing. We'll move on to Q&A, and at this point of time, I would just like to get all of your help to come onto Slido and help us upvote all the questions that you guys are interested in. And we will try to answer them as many as we can to about 9:05 before we end the session. I'll post one question to MFAG side. We'll answer more insurance-based questions, and then subsequently I'll post one question to TheLepakFinance, where we'll focus more on investing, budgeting, and side income. So I'll start with the first question, which is the top voted question. Is investment-linked policies halal? What are specific funds used to ensure that it's halal? So maybe you guys can give an overview of ILP first, so for those who want some context, and then go into answering the question. I'll pass the time to you guys.
Okay, I'll start first. So ILP stands for investment linked policy, right? So some investment links just focus on investment purely, but there are others who actually combine investments plus insurances. So there are questions that are posed whether is it half-half, like will your premium be broken into half and actually half investment, half insurance? The answer is no. Every company does it differently. The premium allocation all will depend on what policy that you're picking up lah. Okay, for example, some policies they will allocate 20% in charges, insurances and all, and then 80% to investment on the first year, and subsequently it will increase. So that depends really on your policy. So that's a general view of how it works. When it comes to like whether it's halal or not, I think it boils down to the funds that you're using. So in each company, there are like a lot of funds, and you have to really look into the activities of the fund. Like what is the fund dealing with? Are they dealing with like casino, like tobacco, like the things that you wouldn't do on a normal basis as a Muslim? Probably you shouldn't be investing in it lah. Yeah, I think that's like the basic guideline that I can give to like on the webinar over here. Because if we want to go into deeper, we have to like really look into the details of the funds. Yeah, so that's something that you will need your advisor to actually advise you on lah. Yeah, on like what are the activities so that you build your conviction on your investment lah. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Okay, the next question is for Daniel and Zalifa. How do I know if companies pay dividend?
Okay, so actually it's quite simple. Let's say you want to invest in a company in the first place. You need to know if the company is public in the first place. So if it's a public company, you can see the stock. So for example, if you want to invest in Apple or Zoom, then you just need to search for Apple stock price or Apple Zoom stock price. Then from the Google search, right, usually at the bottom it will say dividend yield. So dividend yield is basically saying for that price of or that you're paying for the stock, how many % of dividends are you going to get back? So from there you can already tell that there is you're going to get back some form of dividends. If you want to know how often they pay the dividends, then you need to see when they do the dividend payout, which means that you need to know some important dates like your ex-dividend date, etc., which I won't really touch on because it's a bit more in-depth. But the essence of it is, if you want to know if the company is paying dividends in the first place, you just need to check if it has a dividend yield. If there's a dividend yield, means that they are probably paying some form of dividend. That's the simple answer.
Thank you for answering that question. Okay, so the next question for Diana and Aini. I've heard before that life insurance is not very encouraged in Islam. Is this true? And probably before I ask them to answer the question, I'll also reiterate the point that Diana mentioned, that this is probably a big conversation with difference in opinions everywhere, and also up to some personal preferences of us as Muslims. So it's probably a big discussion that needs to be done on a more available and private setting. So we are not able to provide a definitive and conclusive answer probably in this short time that we have, but I'll pass it to them for a general answer. Thank you. I think you guys are muted if you guys are already speaking.
Yeah, I think Aini is trying to unmute.
All right.
Okay. Diana, you want to say something first?
Okay, so yeah, it is Siddiq mentioned there are a lot of opinions, and you can easily find Muiz's opinion on the website on what's insurance, what's just on insurances. And it says that it's really dependent on your, I would say, what's it called? What do you think you need for yourself? Something like that. Yeah. So so it doesn't say that it's wrong or it's right. And again, you have to look at the context of your family, the context of being in Singapore itself. And yeah, I wouldn't say whether it's haram or it's halal, because I don't think it's upon me to decide for you what is it lah, what is it halal haram. But according to Muiz fatwa, it says that it's based on what you decide for yourself lah, whether is it a need. And again, I think just now Aini mentioned about over-insuring and under-insuring. So the most important thing is that we are not getting insurance to profit from it. Like we are getting insurance so that our family won't be left in debt, or we won't be a liability in case something happens to us. Yeah. So yeah, I think, and of course, Islam encourages to care of the welfare of our families lah. So again, from there, with more of your research, I hope that will actually allow you to make the proper decision for yourself. Yeah, it's never a black and white lah in a lot of things. Yeah.
Nurul, you want to answer, chime in on that as well?
Yeah, just to add on to what Diana mentioned earlier. So when we talk about insurances, there's a lot of insurances. So if we talk about life insurance, definitely number one, we are not supposed to profit from life insurance. Like what Diana mentioned, is just to make sure that our dependents are not being left stranded without any funds to at least get them on their feet after a few years, at least for a few years until the breadwinner. At least for a few years until they are more stable after the death of the breadwinner usually. So this is for life insurance, I would say. So that the living party will not be having to sell off their flats, sell off their assets to make sure that they have money to just go through. So different scholars have different opinions. Definitely we need to see which opinion that we want to follow. The closest. So if we talk about that is life insurance. So if we talk about, just to share a little bit about history, I'm not sure, there's this thing in Malay, they call it Hairat Kematian, which means to say back in the kampung days, where the Hulu, the head of the kampung, they will actually collect funds every month, money every month from all the villages. So what's going to happen if, let's say, there's a death happens in the village, right? This money will be used to pay off the funeral expenses of the deceased. So in a way, they are sharing the pool of risk. So isn't that also insurance, that in today's context, we're also using it to help with hospitalization expenses? So I would say insurance, the concept of insurance is there since a long time ago. It's just a matter of how we want to relate to our current lifestyle at the moment and what belief that we have.
Yeah, I think I just want to add on a bit that there are a lot of forms of life insurance. There are really more than one form. There's like the whole life plan, there's the term life, and each insurance actually has their own features, which make it permissible or not permissible for Muslims lah. So of course, it takes more time for me to explain that. So inshallah, if you are interested, you can always reach out to us, inshallah.
Thank you for both of your sharing. And I think over the chat, we also have very very enthusiastic participants who are sharing the links as well. So thank you for sharing the link to the Office of Mufti website. All right, so I'll move on to the next question for TheLepakFinance. Is it wise to put more than 80% of your savings into investments? I know there's a 50-30-20 rule, but I see a lot of people around myself as well putting a lot of money into like big, nice words like cryptocurrencies and all. So I guess this is a pretty relevant question for people our age. So please, I'll pass the time to you guys.
All right. So, well, we have to understand what type of savings are we looking at here. If you're talking about emergency funds, that things that are, or basically the money that we need to keep us going for 6 months in case we get hit with, let's say, unfortunate event that we lose our job. Then those kind of money, we need it in the short run. And it's so the whole purpose is called emergency funds. It's for when we really need it and we will never foresee that we will need it. So those ones I will always keep in, I guess for Muslims, it's a hiba account. For like people who are non-Muslims, you might want to consider a high yield savings account. Things that can give some sort of return on the fund that's just sitting there, because you do not want this emergency fund to fluctuate as every single day. So you want to keep it in something stable like a bank account or something like that. Whereas if you're talking about, let's say, mid-term savings or short-term savings or long-term savings. So short-term here, I'm talking about like 3 years or so. So these ones you can look at sukuk funds if you're Muslim, bond funds if you're non-Muslim. If you're looking at more than that, 5 years, you have more than enough time to invest it in the stock market or into ETFs or unit trusts. You have to understand that the longer time you have for available, then you can invest. But if the money is meant for something short term, you should always keep it in something lower risk and something that's more stable, because you will need it sooner than later. So to say 80% is too much or too little, it's not really a fair answer, because I need to see what kind of context it is. If it's a long term, I would say yes, definitely. If it's short term, I would say depends on what instrument. If it's emergency funds, straight no. Straight no.
Right, very good answer. That really resonated with me. All right, so I'll move on to the next question. And we'll take 2 more questions before we unfortunately have to end our session. Even though you guys have so many questions, and I'm seeing the chat is also coming into live. All right, so for MFAG, are there Sharia compliant endowment plans?
Yes, I think Daniel just mentioned is sukuk. However, not all companies offer sukuk, so you have to look for it lah.
Okay. Maybe I can follow up as well with the next question. For term or life plans, you guys mentioned that there will be no cash value. Does that mean that they lost their money just like that?
What do you mean by lost their money?
I'm not too sure about the terminology of the question, but it says, yeah, for the term or life plan, you mentioned that there will be no cash value. Does it mean that we lost our money just like that? Does it make sense?
Okay, understand. Okay, I think I get it. Yeah, so you have to understand that, so for the person who asked this question, you have to understand that the purpose of insurance and savings and investments are different. Yeah, so you cannot be expecting getting money from insurance if it does not have a surrender value or cash value. Yeah, because that's not going to happen, right? So you are, of course, those plans that has cash value, usually they are of higher premiums, and those that does not have cash value is of lower premium. So if you're on a tight budget and you can only afford getting an insurance with no cash value, then that's what you're going to get because you need insurance. Yeah, so, and that's your purpose because you want to get insurance. But if your purpose is actually to, wait for the maturity and then get cash value, then don't get a pure insurance, get something else. Yeah. So it's not about losing money. I guess it's depending on your priority and your budget. Yeah, and yeah, of course, every policy has different features.
Thank you. Noor, would you like to chime in as well?
Yeah, just adding on. For me, I think the person is asking on at a different context. So if you're talking about the types of plan, if you're talking just about a term plan, basic term plan, the term plan doesn't have cash value. But if you're talking about life insurance, such as under ILP, under whole life, the ones that have maybe endowment plans, all these are life plans as well, then it has cash value. So probably you have to see which type of plan that you really need in terms of your goals, your priorities, and also your budget. So every plan works differently.
Okay, thank you both of you. All right, so we have a lot of questions left for like cryptocurrencies and investments, but as I mentioned, we have an event in August. So that's our way to get you guys to come. Because we're ending up with a cliffhanger on investments. Do check out our August events for discussions on that. We will end off with one last question about side income. So the question goes: should we focus more on building our value as an employee to earn more in the future, or focus on side incomes during our lifetime as students?
Okay, I'll answer first. I don't know if Zalifa wants to answer later, but I'll answer first. So for me, I would say, why not do both? For myself, I do generate my own part-time income through teaching people, do tuition, etc. But at the side also, I use my part-time income to actually upgrade myself. So I take on like courses so that it helps me build towards my longer-term goal, which is the career lah. So I wouldn't say they are mutually exclusive. You can only do one or the other. I would say you can actually do both at the same time. I'm sure there are people who earn part-time income, be it as a tutor or working in retail, etc. But they also spend their holidays or their summers trying to learn new skills, maybe coding or Excel or whatever skills that might be relevant for your future job. So I would say definitely do both. Why not? You know.
Does Zalifa, do you have anything to chime in?
I think, yeah, I definitely have the same opinion as Daniel, because I am also doing the same thing. But also maybe for those, like, I can only say for my like industry, right? If you're in this creative industry, then your side income can also be your added value. So you can work like freelance, or sometimes you can also approach like lecturers who actually have opportunities for you, because I'm pretty sure they will know more like for opportunities for you to add value to, yeah, your future plans for career. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all of you for answering the questions that we've had tonight. For those who are unable to get your questions answered, do also stay tuned for our next event, for one. And secondly, feel free to send a DM onto our Instagram page. We'll also send you ways to contact all our speakers that are here tonight, and we hope that you guys are able to take something away from our event. So at this point of time, we would like to ask all of you guys for a small favor on the next slide. So we hope that you guys can help us to complete our survey, a very short survey, by scanning the QR code at this, and then just letting us know how we can improve for our next session. As mentioned, we're gonna have one in August. So maybe if you guys think that you guys should be given some airtime to even just unmute your mics and ask questions, then let us know. That we will try to incorporate all your suggestions into a better event in August. So this link will also be sent in the WhatsApp group. So if you guys need some time to digest some reflections shared here today, then feel free to do so, and then do this survey on your own free time. So next slide also, I'd like to ask everyone for one last favor to help us to turn on your cameras. And for the guys, maybe you guys can put your last minute hair wax. For the ladies, the sisters, maybe some last minute makeup. We can give you guys 30 seconds. I hope that's enough. Maybe 31 if it's not. But since there's quite a lot of people here, we'll probably need to take a few photos. I'll get Adi to shift the gallery view a few times. So yeah, thank you everybody. I'll just pass the time to Adi to take photos for us.
Okay, yeah, I think Diana has one more thing to share.
Yep. Okay, so
Alright.
I just wanted to firstly apologize for any shortcomings in our presentation. Secondly, I wanted to also let you guys know that the intention of sharing about the insurances and the career is really it's a calling lah for anyone who's interested firstly in the career to be part of the company, because we are really in need of Muslim advisors lah in the industry. Whenever we attend seminars, we are always the minority, and I feel we should represent more and hence serve more Muslims, inshallah. And of course, the planning for your insurances, investments, I think we are more than happy to address your questions if any. But if not, I guess even if it's a little, just try to start something for yourself. Yeah, okay? And pass on the knowledge.
Thank you so much. Anyway, we have some tele chats that everyone can join. It's our SMU, MS, and IBFS channel, as well as the Ashik Do It Je channel. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrongly, Daniel. But yes, please do join these channels, because we will be announcing all our events, and you can learn so much also from the community. So yeah, just hold on. I hope everyone is ready. I'm going to.
Thank you, Diana, for giving us a bit more time to prepare as well. Right.
Just hold on.
You need to let us know when to smile so that our face doesn't get too sore after a while.
Right. When everybody's ready, you guys can turn on your camera.
Right. All good?
Okay. All right. Okay. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Okay,
Right.
thank you everyone.
All right. Okay. So thank you everyone for coming on tonight, and we'll see you all in our next event, talking specifically about halal investing opportunities in August. At this point of time, I'd like to also repeat what Diana mentioned. All good is from Allah, and all shortcomings is from us. And do keep SMU IBFS in your du'as. Also keep MFAG in your du'as and LepakFinance. And one last thing we would like all of you guys to keep in your du'as is that while we have the privilege tonight to talk about personal finance and also investing, there are some brothers and sisters around the world that don't even have the privilege to even have access to free internet connection or even basic needs that we all need to require to live as human beings. So please keep these people, brothers and sisters, in your du'as. It is really much needed, and we really hope to see you guys in our August event. So I'll end this session for all of us here tonight by reciting Tasbih Kafar and Surah Asr. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Thank you everybody. Have a good night. Take care. We'll see you in our next session. Assalamualaikum everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So
Thank
Adil, this is
you.
maybe where you play some background music.
My playlist is it's a bit astaghfirullahalazim.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Zalifa as well.
Thank you,
Thank you,
No worries.
Adi.
Zalifa.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Right. Okay, we'll get you
See
guys
you
on
all.
for the meeting soon. It's in August, so it's a little bit time away, but this was such a good session.
All right. Thanks. Thanks guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Assalamualaikum.
Good night.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam.